Great. But here's what he did.
Rhyme it. Do you know how to rhyme it? Oh, please just rhyme it.
Then he really gets into it.
Do you know how to rhyme it?
Yes,
Of course, we will.
you don't even have to think
rocking
about
it. So let's rhyme it today. Rhyme it.
Yes.
We are gonna rhyme it. Just
Yeah,
rhyme
that's
it.
where he just rammed it.
I like that.
Everybody, amazing.
I'm not going to remember any of it.
That's good. That's the way to go.
All over the Rams today and rhyme it.
I mean, now he's like on his feet.
How are you guys?
Whose house?
Wow.
Rhyme it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers the Pod. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined by my brother and the other host of this show, Nick. And Nick, we're 3-8. 11 games into the season. It has been very sad so far. And when McVay says in the intro of our show that I'm not going to remember any of it, I was just thinking to myself, I don't want to remember any of this.
No, the whole year.
It's been really tough. Oh, how are you?
No, I'm good. You know, I'm just thinking, I'm like, outside of the Texans, who are a absolute tanking team, out of the teams that are trying, I think we are by far the worst. And now I don't even think
who
we're
else
trying
is it?
anymore.
It's the Texans. It's the Panthers. Like, who else is in?
Now
in
the
bottom
Panthers
league?
are way better than
The
us.
Panthers have what, 4 wins? Who else is
Yeah.
in the bottom right now?
Bears.
The Bears. Yep, Bears are struggling. Like, it's right now the Lions have the 3rd pick in the draft thanks to the Rams. But would you trade it? Would you go back and do it all again for what we experienced last year? I think is the big question.
No, but I am tired of like having to say that, you know, like it's a new year. The Super Bowl magic has officially sprinkled its way off of me now that the team total is impossible to hit. We got, we're watching preseason games essentially.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Players that shouldn't even be seeing the field. Questioning Stafford's future with the team, and other players like Ramsey and Donald. And it just, it's hard when you have to sit up here and do a podcast on the worst team in football.
Yeah, it's tough.
But
It is. Okay, go ahead. What's the but?
I still, this team wasn't embarrassing against the Chiefs. There were some things I liked, and a part of me felt very relieved just going to this game, scheduling a loss, and just watching for other things.
Well, it's nice to know that the bar is low, right? I think if your expectations are set properly, you're going to expect, 10 points being the ceiling. Offensive line, there's no personnel right now. I mean, AJ Curie, Matt Skura, Coleman Shelton, Oday Aboshi, and Rob Havenstein. Like, that's who's protecting Bryce Perkins in his first career NFL start. I mean, your expectations have to be extraordinarily low, similar to how they were in the Jeff Fisher era, right? Where you're expecting the defense to be able to show out. You're hopeful that they can keep you in the game with 8 to 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. If you get down to 6 minutes, 5 minutes, the offense has another possession to take a shot and potentially tie the game up or get you within a single score. That's all you could ask for. And that's exactly what we got in this game. You had a defense who put on a pretty decent performance. If I went back and watched everything in the red zone specifically, I thought Ramsey was good in the red zone. I thought Nick Scott was extremely impressive and somebody that I hope that they'll bring back next year at the safety position. So, yeah. I mean, there's good things that happened. They forced a couple of turnovers in the red zone. They kept Mahomes, who seemed like just wanted to scramble all day. He didn't necessarily have a ton downfield. There weren't a ton of explosive plays in this game on either side of the ball. So, I wasn't embarrassed. I think that's what I was looking for in this game was when you see the line at 14.5 and then it creeps up to 16.5, 17.5. Your expectations are so beyond low. But the fact that there was time left in this game and there was an opportunity for them to at least get within a single score was all you could really ask for from this team right now.
Yeah, and, I liked what I saw from Williams in the backfield, catching passes. I liked a little bit what I saw of a potential future quarterback situation where the Rams have somebody that can also run.
Yep.
Because there were a lot of really good designed quarterback runs in this game where Perkins is really like light on his feet and can kind of, move the ball when it's like second and 18, and now it's third and manageable after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Had a couple nice third down runs. I saw some design draws and everything. Like, Bryce Perkins didn't embarrass us either. Like, I thought he was definitely an upgrade over John Wolford.
And part of me is just upset because we get the special teams turnover, we get the pick in the end zone, and we've been begging for these turnovers. And now they come at a game where we're not even really in the game at all, nor have we ever really been like in control of anything during the entire game. So it's like if those come in like against San Francisco or, like the Cardinals, there's a chance when we can win those games and they come in key moments. But of course they come at like, now where the season's already over and there's nothing really to look forward to. But Nick's picks undefeated.
That's all that matters. Nick's Thanksgiving picks were 3 for 3. I think they were
3 for 3 on Thanksgiving.
That's what matters.
Yeah. And speaking of picks, why don't we talk about our sponsor, Bet Online?
Yeah, go ahead.
Basketball is back, and Bet Online remains your number one. I already messed it up. Damn it. Remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at Bet Online. As your continued source for all sports betting wagering information, Bet Online features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest, always the easiest. Bet your favorite sports events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BLEAV to receive your rewards. Located at the bottom of the screen. Bet Online, where the game starts.
Well done, Nick. I think that was a very, very good recovery. I wanted to start with the first half. Just kind of go through some things that I saw, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then we'll jump to the second half. And then we'll jump into Monday Pain. Will be the entire episode. We'll go through everything that we saw within this game. I think there are some things that you could watch for specifically, Nick. I know you mentioned the muff punt. There's a lot of eyes on Kyren Williams right now. Just in looking at the first half, I thought it was really interesting watching Bryce Perkins obviously making his first career start. But special teams, the return team started with a penalty, and then they came back. You saw that play where the muff punt happened. I mean, obviously the muff happened, and then Ben Skronik comes in like a speeding bullet on that muffed punt to finish up the play. And I like him on the coverage team. He's a good player. He's been solid for us this entire year. So at least he's, somewhat of a shining star in.
Yeah. I think next year, if you have him on the team, fullback or receiver, like, top 3 guy, I think that's somebody that you can kind of officially be like, look, this guy hustles. He puts in the work, maybe get a little better action with like catching the ball. And he could be a viable option.
I think he's fine. Right? I think that's what you're trying to evaluate. Are players that could potentially be on the roster for next year. Right. So I think he's going to be obviously a guy that will be a lock to be on the roster next year, whether it's special teams, whether he's contributing as a receiver, as a fullback. Cam Akers got the start in this game, and Kyren Williams was in by the third play. And it was a passing down to McCutcheon, who is another guy who I definitely feel like is going to have a future with this team, just based on, the way that he has understood the playbook, how quickly he's came about. Right. I think all the progression he made from the preseason to this point, and now he's getting some legitimate targets from Bryce Perkins. And if Matthew Stafford was in the game, I feel like he'll look even better. So there's that. And then Kyren too. I thought he was I know you mentioned you thought he looked good. I thought he was a little bit lackluster in all honesty. I think he had 4 to 5 negative plays in the first half alone, but he did.
Maybe it was more of the garbage time.
Yeah, I think his contribution in garbage time, I think, inflated his stats a little bit. But he had a couple negative plays in the first half. But he outsnapped Cam Akers 38-16. What were your thoughts there? You want to see more Kyren, or are you good with Cam?
I think with both of them, you can have a solid run game if you utilize both of their strengths. But unfortunately, I think you needed to add like a Henderson, like bowling ball, or I guess a Malcolm Brown to kind of complement it. Didn't see any Malcolm Brown.
No, he's not even on the team anymore. I think they waived him.
Wow. Didn't even know that. How about that? Sorry, everyone.
Or he's hurt. One of the two.
Yeah. But neither of them are complete. Like neither of them can be an every down back.
I didn't think so either.
Kyren Williams, 9 points in fantasy. Like if you picked him up and you needed some quick 9 points, like, yeah, pretty solid, but nothing from either of them. I mean, At this point, I just want to see more Williams than Akers, just out of thoughts for next year, because I feel like Akers probably is not on the team next year, even though they got nothing for him and they tried to trade for him. The whole year, it just felt like nobody wanted to do any business with us. And I watched Burns and McCaffrey, and they're both pretty solid on the Panthers and the Niners now. And I'm just thinking, like, if we had one of those guys, maybe a couple more wins, but that we would still be in the same bubble, you know. You know, those Commanders would be on top of us fighting for that 7th seed better than we are. So at this point, I'm just glad that we didn't pull any triggers.
No, that would have been a disaster. And I think
who would have foresaw this? You know, like who could
Nobody.
have saw that the Super Bowl winning Rams are now just in the pit of St. Louis despair once again?
Massive, massive fall from grace. Yeah, I mean, if you would have traded for a running back in this situation, first of all, there's a lot of free agent running backs coming up in 2023, which is something we'll get into in Monday Pain. But second of all, you're watching Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs, who is, he's a 7th round draft pick. He's nothing special. He's not a workhorse necessarily, but they gave him the ball 22 times in this game. And you seem like, he gives enough contribution. He wears down the defense. He wears down the first level of the defense specifically. He forces all those defensive linemen to get off their spot and have to go try to make a play, which wears them down. And then when it comes to Mahomes scrambling around, it's the pressure is bad enough, right? So for the defensive line to be tired, to have to chase around a back that his, 7th round pick that has essentially said to Andy Reid, I can carry the load. If he's going to wear down your first level of the defense, and Mahomes is going to continuously scramble if he doesn't see things downfield, eventually he's going to make a play happen. And then you combine that with the fact that there's no pressure on this team outside of Aaron Donald whatsoever. So that's kind of where the frustration lies. Like with Justin Hollins being cut. So for those who don't know, I was at the Eagles and Packers game last night. So I got to see Aaron Rodgers play live in person, which was phenomenal.
First time ever you saw that?
First time ever I got to see him play in person. And I also saw you got to see Jalen Hurts break the Eagles, rushing total in a single game, which was absolutely insane. And he gobbles up 50-yard gains. He looks like Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson, like he's as quick as it comes. So there's that. But I'm watching Justin Hollins on the defense side of the ball, just come around the outside, contain and try to chase around Hurts, and he can't do it. Right. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why he got cut. The fact that, he's never seemingly in position. And there's a reason why, Green Bay brought him in, assuming that, they need some help on the defensive line as a, rotational player, not a full-time starter like he was for the Rams. But he did a shitty job of chasing around Jalen Hurts. And I thought Michael Holt was better in that spot. I thought he had a few really good reps in the first half. He played 84% of the snaps in this game. So that's another guy, Michael Holt. So I'm trying to find the positives throughout this entire game script, right? I think there's maybe 3 or 4 players that stood out to me specifically. Michael Holt was one of them, right? So there's maybe a player that you potentially prioritize. It's an internal fill. Maybe if you don't have the money to re-sign somebody like Greg Gaines or Ashawn Robinson, that's somebody that's an internal fill for the future. So just little things that you could be looking for right now. And it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but then you look at the defensive side of the ball in the first half, their defense, it seems like their defensive backs are always in the wrong spot. Like, I'm not sure.
You see 6, the number 6, you're like,
oh,
he's getting cooked or he's hitting somebody late. It's never anything good with him.
No, it's not. Yeah, Darion Kendrick has a lot of work. And what happened with Kobe Durant? Like, I'm looking at the snap counts right now. So where is Kobe Durant? I don't see him anywhere. Like, why is he not getting any snaps? Like, I saw Bobby Brown get 5 snaps, I think, in garbage time. You saw Terrell Lewis, who they said was going to play a lot more in this game, only got 14 snaps, which is 18% of the total on defense. Not enough. You saw Copeland in there. You saw Jonah Williams. You saw Michael Holt and Greg Gaines. Like, there was a rotation of defensive linemen that were, I guess they're trying to see who could potentially fill voids and vacancies at this point, which is what we want to see. But the defensive back seems like that rotation has been very much the same, where it's Nick Scott, Jalen Ramsey, and Troy Hill as the only players on the defense on the backside who seem to limit their amount of mistakes. Of course, they still make them. You saw the Ramsey mistake to Travis Kelce, but some of the others, Darian Kendrick, David Long, Taylor Rapp, like they're the ones that Mahomes was continuously picking on in the first half. And you saw it just pay dividends in the second half as these guys just continuously get worn down. So
Yeah.
tough situation to be in.
I just obviously thankless position. We're only seeing them get burned, and they're not really making any plays. Like you don't even see it when they do make a play because the ball's not getting thrown to the receiver. But something I wanted to bring up was you look at the focal point of the Rams last year, and even as McVay calls them, the core, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the core of the Rams being Kupp, Ramsey, Donald, Stafford.
Yep.
Also, like if I'm a Ram member on that team and I contributed greatly to the Super Bowl success, and then I'm not being called one of the core members, like I'm probably I'm sure there's a little internal, turmoil.
Well, here's the thing.
In that locker room, like Henderson was a huge part of that Super Bowl win, and they just threw him away like he was like yesterday's trash.
Yeah. Well, there's that. I mean, they Rob Havenstein, they tried to promote this year to be a captain. I feel like he was kind of a part of that core since he's one of the players that was still there from St. Louis, right? Hecker was another guy that they just threw away. And then the other three members.
Obviously, Whitworth was last year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The other three members of your core was Big Whit and Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, people who are no longer on the team.
And, Eric Weddle, potentially, I guess you could say, is a core member down the stretch.
Yeah.
But not necessarily true. Like he's maybe Nick Scott is somebody that they've prioritized as somebody to be in their core. But, man, it's tough. There are, four of those guys, those four core members, and you could talk all day long about them all potentially being back. But the likelihood is dipping lower and lower and lower.
That's what I mean. Like
that core's going to stay together. Yeah.
My question to you is, when do they bum off Jalen Ramsey for picks?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I feel like that's happening at the end of this year.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? You brought him in if he's outspoken and they don't feel like he's, contributing to the defense holistically, which is almost impossible because he's one of the best players in football. I don't understand why they would necessarily move on from him. I would try everything in my power to make things work. But because he's such an expensive player and because you could potentially get him off of your cap and maybe have 3 or 4 players that have the same amount of salary cap as Jalen Ramsey all be contributors in different spots of the defense or offense, right? It's just kind of a different way to structure the cap versus being so incredibly top heavy, which is the position that they're in right now. If you get rid of Jalen Ramsey, though, the expectation would be, maybe a first-round pick. I think they went 2 firsts and a 4th when they traded for Jalen Ramsey back in the day.
You're right. But now they have received what they were looking for in a ring. They got it thanks to him. I feel like he's a very sellable icon. It's like you bring him in, you're going to sell jerseys.
Well, obviously outside of Aaron Donald and maybe Kupp, I'm not sure, but I feel like Jalen Ramsey would get the most draft capital. They would give you the most for Jalen Ramsey
easily, I think, right now, just based on age. Donald probably is not going to play anywhere else.
Well, Ramsey and Cooper Kupp, I think, are relatively the same age because Cooper Kupp's my exact age to the day, to the year. So he's going to be 30 coming up.
Yeah, but
and I think Jalen Ramsey's 30 as well, or he's a little
Cooper Kupp had an amazing year up until the injury. Jalen Ramsey has not had an amazing year.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp, you add him to one of the top teams in the league, and they go and win the Super Bowl. You add to the Bills or the Chiefs right now, and they're unanimously Super Bowl champions. And my heart wouldn't be able to take the loss of Cooper Kupp or Aaron Donald. I think Jalen Ramsey, amongst the 4 core members, he would be the one that I'd be able to stomach.
I'm prepping for a Stafford retirement early and a trading of Ramsey. Personally, I think those are the 2 that you got to watch out for. And then, thirdly, Donald retiring. But I don't think we're going to lose McVay as a coach. I don't think you can go out like this. I think that would be a smelly baby fart compared to after a Super Bowl win to look like the worst team in the league.
Right.
I think he has more pride than that.
Mm-hmm.
But Donald, I think, is just ready to you know, he was almost done. Like he accomplished everything,
Yeah.
unless he really thinks that there's a chance that they can like win.
It just seems like there's such an immense amount of pressure. And I think it's probably the reason why it's causing, potential retirements and for these comments to happen. But like this is not it's not a regular trajectory, right? They rose all the way to the top. They won the Super Bowl in their home stadium. And then there was all this pressure for them to repeat. Like I'm sure that weighs into the retirement decision where mentally it's just exhausting when you have to hear about how the window is still open and you have to win every single game. And these are the things that we have to do. And we don't have the personnel to be able to do it.
Champ, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody wants to beat the champ and you have the toughest schedule in the league. And all these injuries, there's so many things that are going on. I do think Aaron Donald is understanding of that, but I think the mental aspect of it is certainly weighing, right? To where if the expectations weren't so incredibly high for all these seasons in a row, it wouldn't be so exhausting.
Yeah. And then, maybe there's a little sense of going like, I don't know any internal dialogue, but maybe it's like they're all kind of already on to next year, like in the room where it's almost like, look, we're not doing it this year. We have injuries on injuries.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of getting some guys some reps right now. Let's reload, like set up for next year, like kind of that thought process with everybody still kind of, engulfed in that. But I don't know if Kelly Stafford is on the same page as Matthew.
Yeah,
because that he wants to play, but he did it. He won. Like he'd probably go back and retire as a lion. All honesty, and then it's like, okay.
She made her stance pretty clear. It seems like, and I think we did too. The last time we talked about it, where if he decides that he wants to retire, like you achieved everything that you wanted to. Right after 13 really long years in Detroit, you went out and won the Super Bowl. And if that's the how you want to end your career, and you feel like the concussion thing is too tough to overcome, and it's going to be a continuous hurdle, and it's going to affect you down the line with your family, with your kids, then absolutely forget about it. Then retire and be comfortable in your life, and it'll just lead us to McVay having the opportunity to develop another quarterback, right?
Yeah.
If he does stay, I think if you can keep Sean McVay, Aaron Donald, and Cooper Kupp together in the core and have, a potential quarterback come out in a couple of years, somebody shakes loose and they try to kind of do it all over again, then that's kind of the dream that you have to sell, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that's all very feasible. I don't think like Kupp is not done with the game.
No,
the worst case scenario would just be the entire, all the core, leaves or retires, and then you're left with a Rams team that is in a tough division. Like, essentially back to St. Louis Jeff Fisher days, which I felt like I was watching with a fake punt and a low scoring game yesterday.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
I don't want to go back to that so fast. That's all.
Yeah, I don't either. I think the fake punt thing, it's like you reverted back to the Jeff Fisher years so quickly. But I feel like Riley Dixon is our best player right now.
You use it like in your own territory and never even like in midfield where it's like at least you can get 3 points from it.
Sure, I know. Yeah, you convert on fourth down, you get it to Jacob Harris, and then you have to punt it.
And then 3 now. Yeah.
It
happened twice already this year after that.
It's dreadful.
It's just
it's nice to know that we have a good punter. We have the next Johnny Hecker on our team in Riley Dixon.
I guess. Every time he punts that, I feel like they're like way too close to him. And he always
pulled the classic. Yeah.
Keep it in bounds, kid.
Yeah, he pulled a classic Hecker where he completed a pass and then he had one of the best punts I've ever seen. Celebrated. They were playing Danny, California, like in the transition. And it was just Riley Dixon, like, getting born in the state of Mississippi, Papa. Like, it was funny. So then there's that. And then the next punt that he has, he kicks it out of bounds. It's like a 37-yard punt, goes right out of bounds. It's like, oh, that's classic Johnny Hecker.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It is to a T exactly what we just got rid of. So at least they know
what they're
looking
for.
Finger
guns.
Hecker the finger guns. Yeah, for sure. So I think that the fake punt, like that's all stuff that just drives me insane. That's why. And then I'm watching the Patriots special teams unit this past week. I think it was on Thanksgiving, and they played the Vikings, Patriots and Vikings. I think that game was.
Yeah.
Their special teams units have made so many mistakes. And I'm saying in the last episode, I just want them to hire the Patriots special teams coordinator and do this and do that. And
I went back to listen to the episode because I forgot what my picks were, and I was like, I think I went undefeated. I mean, I'm 3-0 right now, but I also have the Steelers. So worst case scenario, I'm 3-1. But you loved was New England +3, New England money line, New England special teams coordinator, and Cowboys to cover. And I was just like, I was like writing everything down. I was like, he didn't get a single thing. And
Did the Cowboys cover?
No.
No. Shit.
No. It was like a, what's it called? Backdoor
cover?
Yeah, it was one of those, but still.
Yeah. In the final moments.
Mm.
Yeah. Garbage time. That hurts. All right. Well, let's get through the rest of the second half, and then we'll transition quickly to Monday Pain. Because I think that the whole storyline of this episode is we were afraid to be embarrassed in this game, right? Because the game's on national TV. It's one of those games where your friends will text you and be like, "Who's this guy, Bryce Perkins? Never heard of him before."
I'm getting texts like, "Is Bryce Perkins going to throw over 100 yards?" And I'm like,
"Yeah, right.
Probably
It's
not. Like, don't do that. Like, don't bet on it."
Yeah, no. I did feel like Bryce Perkins. Yeah, I did feel like Bryce Perkins was a significant upgrade, though, over John Wolford, which I know I said before. Seattle Rams, I thought, said the funniest thing, just about Perkins, about John Wolford, because Perkins made a lot of good throws, I thought. But what Seattle Rams said, he was like, Wolford throws hospital balls, and Bryce Perkins doesn't make those same kind of mistakes. Like, I saw a couple downfield completions to Van Jefferson, obviously the touchdown to Van Jefferson, which was nice. It was Bryce Perkins' first NFL touchdown. And then the 2-2 out, well, there's a big play on fourth down, the fourth down conversion that they got together. I was impressed by 2-2 coming back to the ball, Perkins having to escape out of the pocket. And, he obviously threw the 2 interceptions later on in the game with like 7 minutes left and then 5 minutes left. But I think to that point, I wasn't embarrassed by what Bryce Perkins brought to the table. And you knew with the personnel that they came with to that game, you knew that they were limited in what they could do offensively. So
hospital balls is definitely the funniest term I've heard in quite some time. So shout out to the Seattle Rams.
Nobody likes to watch John Wolford play.
He carries himself with the poise of Joe Burrow. And just like have like a little self-awareness kid,
yeah.
You're not Joe Burrow. You're a backup on a team that, prays to God, the backup never sees the field. Stop wearing 13 like Kurt Warner. I don't care what significance that has to you. And I know Kurt Warner is not a fan of this take. And he's like, "Oh, no, but please wear 13. No, please don't.
No.
That is a sacred number in the franchise, and you are soiling it."
Understandable. Well, that's what happens. And, when we talked in the preseason, Nick, I remember going back to August and July, we were like, oh, yeah, this is all fun. Like, it's fun to watch these guys. It's fun to see them in camp. Like, but the fear is that we see them at all this season. And, like, the reality came to light so quickly. And now we get, we're right back to the preseason conversation of, should it be Bryce Perkins or John Wolford? And it seemed like we already had our answers back in August when everybody seemingly knew that Bryce Perkins was the better option. And they were like hiding John Wolford. Like, it was like, we're not going to play our backup quarterback. So we're going to play our third string quarterback just to keep everybody on their toes. It's like, give us a break with the whole situation.
It's like, yeah, God, I don't even want to get into the Wolford of it all.
It's annoying. But bottom line, Perkins gets picked again, right, for the second time. But they almost picked off Mahomes with 6 minutes and 40 seconds left.
Well, they got him, right? They got him one time.
Yeah, they got him once. But I'm saying with 6 minutes left, like the game was still 20-10. And the Chiefs were in the red zone. They almost got another interception, which they would have had the ball with 6 minutes and 40 seconds left, marching down the field with an opportunity to make it a 3-point game.
Yeah.
So, or at least get it within, kick a field goal and get it within a touchdown.
No, I thought this was the best example of bend, don't break defense. Because as soon as it got to the red zone, Donald had that one pesky face mask call. I mean, it's where
on the sack.
Actually,
on the sack.
Yeah, on the sack, where it actually looked like he grabbed his cheek. like that is just insane.
I know.
And that's also got to be so hard to not clamp your hand when you're just like literally trying just to like.
Oh yeah, it's.
But then impossible. First and goal, they stop him 4 times.
Yeah.
So, or three times, or I think it was what, the third time they forced a pick.
Yeah, I mean,
So
historically, one of the best coaches in the red zone, one of the most well-designed offenses, specifically when they're within the 10-yard line.
yeah, so I mean that will bite you in the ass when like you do have a great punt and then immediately like 13-yard gain and it's like they're on the 25 and it's like, oh well, that's what was the point of that great punt if you're going to give that up right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was impressed of what I saw from the defense, particularly how they just didn't want to quit, even though the offense was giving them really nothing to work
Yeah,
with.
no, nothing to work with, really.
Yeah. So I was yeah, like I'm sitting there, I'm watching that game and I know we're gonna lose. And a little part of me was just a little like relieved in a way. Like everybody, not everybody around me. I was watching with one person, my girlfriend. She was happy that I was not invested in the game.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like
Well, 'cause
invested
it's
to
been a
win,
lot.
I should
It's
say.
been a lot of emotion and, over the last 5, 6 years, there's been a massive investment. I mean, you wanna go to as many games as possible, you wanna see this era take off and be a part of it and be a fan for it. And with the moving back to Los Angeles, there were so many things to be excited for. And this, Nick, felt like the very first week in about 6 years where them losing the game, expectation was to lose, they're not a good enough team, and it didn't hurt to watch.
Yeah.
I wasn't in pain after this game. Like, I didn't need to go take a walk. I didn't feel obligated to be on Twitter the whole night. There was nothing that I felt like I needed to cope with, right? I think I'm just kind of at peace with the way that this era has progressed. And now it's all about evaluating, what's going to change. So I think as long as you're moving that mindset to the next phase and you're understanding that if I could just look at a couple of free agents. If I could look at a free agent running back, if I could bring in an edge rusher, if I could bring in another safety, if I could bring in a left tackle, then all of these puzzle pieces can fit together. Once again, it just may take some time, and it's going to take a commitment from players and coaches who have been bought into this era for the last 6 years. So
the only thing that's upsetting is, and it's kind of accumulation of all the points of why we're upset, is you wait all year for football. It's
Yeah,
the
you
best
do.
time of the year. It leads into Christmas and New Year's, and all you really want is January football, watching your team be able to play extra games.
Yep.
And not only did we not get that this year, the year after Super Bowl, where that usually is almost guaranteed, we don't even really have December football to look forward to.
No, I know.
Where it's just like we are out of conquest of anything.
Mhm.
And it's not even worth tanking because then we're just helping the Lions. So
A very odd situation to be in.
yeah, it's very bizarre, and you still kind of like, I guess they're playing to win, but yeah, it's just a little unfortunate.
Perfect
But
transition
you
into
can still point backwards, and you can still say we got the ring, and no one can say it's like a bubble ring or anything like that. Also, crazy. Absolutely crazy. This is a completely separate tangent, but how the NBA gets called a bubble ring, but
Mickey Mouse ring.
Mickey Mouse ring, but they don't say anything about the Super Bowl that year. Like that Brady ring has zero taint on it.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
Which
forget
is
the
just-
fact that it was a pandemic year.
Right.
Yep.
Like absolutely ludicrous. Like fans,
Yeah.
fans matter so much in basketball, but matters zero in the NFL. Like, I don't know. That's just very, very, very bizarre.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's weird because it was LeBron and Brady who kept us occupied
Well,
during a
I think
pandemic.
it just goes to show people just find reasons to hate LeBron as much as possible. So,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you have to win 7 championships to be unanimous, and that's what Tom Brady is.
yeah.
You win 4, and there's still a target on your back until you win 6 or 7. That's frustrating. Monday pain is real, Nick. A legitimately awesome transition by you.
Unfortunately, a continued segment on Rams Brothers the Pod 5 weeks in a row.
5 weeks in a row. I mean, I look exhausted. I look like I'm having a lot of Monday pain.
And now
from
we're
my
like
cup of coffee
4-point
this morning.
dogs against Seattle.
Is that it? 4-point dogs.
At home.
Here's the tweet. Here's the Monday pain tweet.
Read it for us, Gene.
I'll read it for us. Let me get rid of this hashtag that is in the way. 5 straight L's. Hashtag Monday pain is legitimate today. What's on your mind? How are you coping? and what are you hoping for at this point in the season? So we had 5 very special guests. If I can get this off of our screen,
I
join
do
us
love
for
this
Monday
segment.
Pain. Yeah,
I do
fans
like
love
being able to communicate with the fans
Yeah, this is an awesome
of the
thing.
Rams.
Yeah, of fans of the Rams. This is an awesome thing to be able to get fans on the show, right? It's kind of like a quick and easy way to contribute to the show. We get to talk about it. You get your 5 seconds of fame. There's no fame actually to be had on the show. I was gonna say.
What fame?
Yeah, there's no fame. Thanks, Nick, for calling me out there. All right, let's start with the first tweet.
I'll read it.
Go ahead.
It's from Shadisser. His profile picture just says it's over. So I guess that tells you everything you need to know. To finish last in the division, so next year we can get an easier schedule. I guess that's something you're hoping for. It's like, let's play worse than Arizona.
Fantastic tweet.
Yeah, because really,
that's how you turn it around.
Yeah, that would be great. We haven't had a last place schedule since 2015.
Yep, probably around that time.
Yeah, so
the year they won the Super Bowl in 1999, they had the easiest schedule in the league.
Yeah, that stuff matters. It
very absolutely important. Matters.
Let's get out of the AFC West. I don't know what divisions we play next year. I think the NFC East and somebody else.
East and maybe the AFC East could be both. Actually, no, they can't do 2 East Coast travels. This would have to be maybe the North.
Again? No, North was last year. The South. Probably South.
Probably the South. Although we play in the South this year.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, playing the South this year. Well, we'll have to look. But yeah, looking forward to a potentially last place schedule. It'd be nice to say. I'll read the next one. This one's from Connor at Connor Cheng. All I care is about Cooper Kupp and AD staying. I mean, that's how I feel too.
Not even McVay. McVay's not even added to that.
Well, I mean, who's going to be your coach if McVay isn't there? Kurt Warner? You're gonna go Jeff Saturday and bring back an all-time player as your head coach. Andrew Whitworth would probably be a great coach.
Oh, Raheem would actually be kind of cool.
Raheem as the head coach?
Yeah.
I don't think that would be kind of cool. I would just be upset to see Sean McVay go. But I think Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald are the 2 pieces of the core that need to stay intact because Matthew Stafford wasn't homegrown, right? And yeah, I mean, Jalen Ramsey wasn't homegrown either. You paid to get him. So
yeah, I guess those 2 are definitely. I mean, particularly Donald more than anything. I mean, St. Louis to LA, like he's been the king of this franchise.
Yeah, he's the face. He's been the face. Yeah. All right, how about this one? All you.
This is from Sal at Mad Cause I Go Fast. A little Sonic the Hedgehog reference, maybe. Coping by knowing we just won a Super Bowl and the underlying franchise doesn't look totally horrible. Got to make some moves and get healthy. Next year they'll be back. I agree. I do think next year I don't think that's lunacy to think that next year they'll be back.
No,
there's a lot of injuries. You can really get have that kick in the ass on your get that out of the way this year and come in hot and be like, look, this is who we are. We are the LA Rams. We have amazing players here. We are in Hollywood. Let's light it up because we know that we can.
Yeah, it's so strange. Before the season started, I remember this quote specifically from Justin Hollins. Ironic because he's been cut. But he was talking about how it is legitimately football heaven to play for the Rams. Like that, after them winning the Super Bowl, that's what I thought was going to take over in the league. I thought that the Rams were going to be coined this destination. Everybody wants to go and play for Sean McVay. Everybody wants to be a part of the we not me culture. And it seems like it has transgressed into the complete opposite direction. So that's what's really difficult. But I think when you're looking forward to next year and they have Les Snead in place, they have Sean McVay in place, if the core stays intact, there is plenty of reason to believe that we'll be back where we need to be.
Yeah, so. And one thing McVay has always been good with is year after year kind of developing what the offense looks like. I mean, last year they had to completely rework everything going from Goff to Stafford. So I think you can really bringing in some capable running back and going back to the RPOs that we knew so well, I think would be a really great start. So I'm hopeful for the offseason.
Yeah, I am too. It'll be fun to see how the offense progresses, right? Because it's not just going to be all about Cooper Cup. You can't roll out the same thing you've rolled out the last 2 years. Potentially getting Stafford under center more often. You can have your play actions and your bootlegs and your RPOs and mix in tons of different things. Maybe incorporate some of what San Francisco does with their run scheme. Like there's a lot. You bring in personnel to be able to do those things. There's a reason to be optimistic. The next one,
this
Milko.
is from Milko, Mr. Milko, hoping they use these games to develop some of our young players.
That's what we need to do.
That's what we've been saying. That's, I think, what Williams has been kind of almost like the variable in a math equation. Like, if our team is this bad, solve with X. And, he's just like, I don't know how you can solve the problem with him, but maybe we can see a different result than what we've seen. Oh, look at this. Reminder, everything 65% off Ram Shop today. I wonder if it's because they're so bad or if it's because it's Cyber Monday.
Oh, it's Cyber Monday. Asshole. I was like, what? That's breaking news. No, it's not even that. No, but in terms of younger players too, like Marquise Copeland is a guy that you're watching. You're watching Jonah Williams. You're watching Bobby Brown. These are all guys that got snaps yesterday. You're still watching Ernest Jones develop. You're watching Michael Holt. So, I mean, there's enough there. And then I think on the offensive side of the ball, Bryson Hopkins, 41% of the snaps. You saw Roger Carter get a snap yesterday, but I think it was on the kneel down. Powell and Atwell looks like they're relatively the same player at this point in the offense. Same snap share, essentially. Same amount of targets. And then there's Skoranek. You're always going to be watching him, Kyron. And the offensive line. I mean, it's so hard to evaluate an offensive line when you have a quarterback who it's going to take a little bit longer through his progressions. He's going to take off and run. But I thought for the most part, the offensive line was decent enough. Hopefully that there's one guy in the rotation right now, whether it's AJ Curie, whether it's Matt Skora, Coleman Shelton, somebody that you can keep in for next year and have to be a piece. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Last one. Do you know this guy?
Jersey Ram 1 at RD Vez. No, I don't know who this is.
A Rams fan from New Jersey? What a weirdo.
Yeah. Bizarre.
Jersey Ram 1 at RD Vez 1 is our dad. I'll read this one. It all comes down to the future of Stafford. Neck injury is no joke. I think he was talking about concussions there. If he stays on and can only go a couple of games for next year, the Rams will be in a prolonged limbo period. Oh, God.
Yeah, usually I like the limbo when it gets bust out at a bar mitzvah or a wedding. But in this case, I would have to decline.
I think that's the most likely situation is Stafford's not going to retire, I don't think. I just think that he's too committed to the game. And, he wanted to play even in a situation he was fighting to get cleared. I'm sure he had to hear it from his family. Fought to get cleared, played in that game where he got his second concussion. I mean, if he does continue to play, though, to Dad's point, it is a prolonged limbo, right? Because if he gets hurt one more time, you're kind of in the same situation that you have been in this year, all year. So, understand where he's coming from. Yeah, that's pretty much worst case scenario. So thanks, Dad, for ending us on such a positive note.
Yeah, very
appreciate
typical. I appreciate that, Father.
That's all we got, Nick. That is your weekly episode of Monday Pain after 5 straight losses.
It's times like this I wish I had a Liquid Death ad to read.
Oh, me too, man. The struggles continue. We're here with you guys. We'll be here every week, twice a week. We appreciate you guys listening, following, subscribing. We love you all.
Stick around for Nick's picks. They're hitting at a crazy high rate. I got something cooking up next week. I really like the slate. So
good stuff.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys. I'm looking forward to Nick's picks. I need to make some money because I'm losing all of it in other gambling ways. So Nick's picks for the win. And fantasy. Root for other things. Watch other football. Still try to watch college football is great right now. Watch Caleb Williams of USC.
Yeah, I was
You
gonna
know,
say definitely
fight
fight
on.
on, guys. That's definitely making this all a
Yeah,
little
fight
sweeter.
on. Try to have some fun with it. Enjoy your Sundays. You don't have to be dedicated to the TV every single second. You know, it's if you have other plans, it's okay. Like
Yeah.
it's the era that we're in this year. Hopefully we get out of it for next year and we'll be along with you for the entire ride.
And I think we just might.
Me too. Appreciate you guys listening. Thanks,
Yeah.
Nick.
Take
You the
care,
man.
guys. Fight on. Horns up.
Peace. Go Rams.